The client asked for a quick and clean job. Do you get me? Everything that we need is in the back. Starting in 2009 up to 2012, Nintendo would pay you to go to other people's places and connect their Wii to the internet. Yeah, the so-called Wii Ambassador program is the single reason why I owned a shitload of WiiWare games and I never paid for any of them. Okay, maybe one of two reasons.
Shut your mouth and look at my wand!
Alright, so at the top here, of course, you have Nintendo. They own the house, they make the rules, they hire private eyes to stalk people. So yeah, they're here, at the very top. But right below them, there's you. Well, you and everyone else who wants to join the promo. You and these other guys are the associates working directly for Nintendo. And your job is very simple. Make a list of whoever has a Wii around you and has never connected their console to the internet. And when your list is ready and you get a bunch of names noted down, you simply pay them a visit, one after the other. And you make sure their console gets connected to the fucking internet. Nintendo doesn't care how you do that. You make your own rules, you're a freelancer. But if you do this without fucking up, they're gonna pay you and the friend you helped 500 points. It's a very good deal, you know. You make sure your friend knows that this is an offer he can't refuse. At the end of the day, you get 500 points, the person you helped also gets 500 points, but it does not end here because Nintendo wants to reward their best workers. So if you somehow manage to help 10 people connect their Wii to the internet, you become a gold ambassador. And you get every single Nintendo published NES game on Virtual Console for free. But let's say you're a really high baller, okay? Let's say you somehow manage to invite 20 people. Well, now we're talking, because in that case, you become a Platinum Ambassador. And you get every single NES, SNES, and Nintendo 64 game published by Nintendo for free. For life. Now, I know some of you are already kicking and screaming at the screen saying, Femi, I own the Wii since the American day one and I never heard about this bullshit. You're making this up for views. Well, no, there's actually a very simple explanation for this. So according to Wikipedia, the reason you never heard of this is that this promo never left Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. Except Wikipedia is fucking wrong. Terrible day for lazy YouTubers who don't do any research, I guess.
心から感謝しています。ありがとうございます。手助けしていただいた方々には
After googling some Japanese words that I thought meant connection and Wii, I immediately found this video where Iwata himself talks about launching this promo in Japan, and I also found the Japanese page on Nintendo's website with all the details about it. And as it turns out, this entire thing actually began in Japan and then was extended to the PAL regions later. I think it's important we look into this because we are talking about Nintendo at its weirdest. Like, they were paying you and giving you games during one of their most successful eras. This is not Sega trying to gift you a Dreamcast if you please bought some games. This is Nintendo at its peak. Also, why were they so obsessed with getting your Wii connected to the fucking internet? Some Wiis came shipped with a channel and the only thing it did was show you this video telling you to connect your Wii to the goddamn internet? By April of 2009, Nintendo had sold more than 50 million consoles. The human brain cannot picture that many Wiis, so let me just help you out. Every single white pixel in this 4K resolution video is now equivalent to one sold Wii. The problem is that there's not enough pixels in a 4K display to actually show you how many Wiis Nintendo had sold by then. To have 50 million pixels, you would have to watch this video full screen at the same time on 8 devices with a 4K display like this one. It's kind of insane. Damn, so Nintendo was definitely making some real money out of this, right? Well, despite the Wii being a smash hit from the get-go to the point where it was basically impossible to find one in stock for its entire first year on the market, Nintendo was only making $6 for each system sale, which doesn't sound like a lot until you learn that Microsoft and Sony were actively losing money for each system sold. Because of course, when it comes to video games, companies are not making money on the hardware sales, but on the games that can run on their hardware. According to every source I can find online, Nintendo makes 30 to 40% profit off each physical game sale. And that's because physical games are a pain in the ass to manufacture and distribute. There was also the problem where the Wii was mostly sold to casual gamers and a lot of them just bought it for Wii Sports and left it to rot. It is difficult enough to sell one $60 game every month to a core gamer, let alone to your uncle who just bought the Wii to play tennis. But fortunately, the Wii was Nintendo's first console to provide you another way to buy games. The Wii Shop is definitely the most iconic place to get a shopping addiction.
Sonic the Hedgehog, Donkey Kong 3.
Now, keep in mind that the Wii is basically a GameCube under Ritalin, and its internal memory is just 512 megabytes. You wouldn't even be able to fit Wii Sports inside of it. That means Nintendo's offering on the Wii Shop was, let's say, constrained by the circumstances. You have two categories. The first one is WiiWare. These are games specifically made for the Wii, but since they have to be, small, they are mostly just bite-sized experiences, like Dr. Mario RX or Sexy Poker. And then the second category is Nintendo's real money cow, Virtual Console. Announced even before the Wii was called Wii, Nintendo used a combination of existing emulators originally developed for the GameCube and new outsourced ones to essentially make the Wii backwards compatible with every single previous Nintendo home console. But it wasn't just Nintendo home consoles. Even companies like Hudson Soft, which is technically speaking part of the Nintendo Toxic family because they made every single good Mario Party. They were selling their back catalog there with a TurboGrafx 16 emulator. Then you had Sega, which hired the Giga Chats at M2 to make a very, very good emulator of the Genesis and Master System and started selling their games there. So you could now buy Sonic 3 on a Wii. I could keep going. There were Neo Geo games, arcade games, Japan got MSX, Europe got Commodore 64. If you're wondering how the Nintendo managed to get all of these companies on board to sell games on their platform, the answer is pretty easy. Zero effort and real money to be made. Nintendo was coming to them and basically saying, hey, we have a ready platform with customers wanting to buy your old games, and we can handle everything for you. You just have to give us a small chunk of the profit. It is very hard to say no to a deal like that. This was a win for everybody. Nintendo Classics would make the company full profit without having to develop or manufacture anything, and the other companies selling their games there would make money out of their old back catalog without having to do anything. And it's not like Nintendo had to spend a lot of money here to keep the entire thing going. When the emulators were developed and ready to use, the ongoing running costs for the service would be basically nothing. By buying a Virtual Console game, you would basically get a bundle of an emulator and a ROM file packed together in a channel. And this was, to this day, one of the best ways to get legal copies of all games without having to scavenge the used market. When I was 14, I bought this game on the Wii Shop called Biomiracle Bokute Upa, and it's one of the best games ever released for the Famicom Disk System. And sadly, you can't buy it in any digital form anymore. It was sold on the Wii, Wii U, and 3DS. And now, all of those stores are closed. But thankfully, even though the Wii Shop is closed, it still lets you re-download the games you already bought, so I will own this game forever. Right now on Nintendo Switch you can indeed play games from the older Nintendo and Sega catalog, but you don't own any of them. In case you stop paying or the servers go down, you're basically fucked. Now, why did I talk about all of this? Why did I spend time talking in detail about the Wii Shop? Well, I want to make this clear. The Wii Shop was Nintendo's cheapest and fastest way to get you to buy their old shit. They were trying to sell you games they already developed, trying to spend on them the least time and money possible. But Femi, you're wrong. For example, think about the Nintendo 64 games. They were making a custom version of the emulator for each release. That's bullshit. This emulator is just an updated version of an emulator that was made for a completely different purpose. Because this is the same emulator used in 2002 for the Zelda Ocarina of Time bonus disc on the GameCube. that was made as a pre-order bonus for Zelda Wind Waker. The emulator was slowly and gradually updated. There was a Nintendo Club bonus disc that contained an emulated version of Majora's Mask, and if you look in the disc files there, you can see a lot of info showing how this was being updated and prepared to slowly become what then turned into the Wii Virtual Console emulator. But it's not like they were making custom builds of the emulator for each new Virtual Console release. The emulator was ready, they were just editing the configuration file in it to try and make it run better with different games. If you need any proof of this, you're currently watching Mario 64 being emulated on a modified version of the Zelda Ocarina of Time bonus disc, because I injected the ROM and it works. You can just play the game because the emulator was good since 2002. What Nintendo really nailed here is the overall presentation. Yes, you were just buying a game ROM, but it didn't feel that way because they tried to replicate the feel of actually buying and owning a game. You know how Gran Turismo games try to replicate the entire feeling of owning a car and not just driving one? Buying something on the Wii Shop was very similar to this. You would get a custom channel with custom graphics, a virtual manual. It felt like you were buying something new. So considering all of this, considering how much money this was worth with zero effort, why the f*** were they giving me these games for free? Why do that? And then suddenly, out of nowhere, I think I figured out exactly what happened here. Why wasn't this promo available in the US? At a first glance, it doesn't make any sense. If they were really trying to get more people to connect their Wii to the internet, why didn't they also do this in the US? In order to understand this, we have to analyze precisely how you bought games on the Wii Shop. To buy games, you need to spend real money, but you're not allowed to just use your money. You first have to convert it into Wii points.
What's that?
It's just like regular money, but fun!
If it's fun, let's see, I'll take $1,100 worth.
Wii points basically work like casino chips. They let Nintendo have all of your money at once because you have to buy a minimum set amount that's usually a bit more than what you need, leaving just enough for you to think, I might top up again and sum up the points to get another game. And they also trick your brain into thinking that you're not spending real money. To be fair, Nintendo was far from the only company doing this. Even Microsoft had their own weird Bill Gates bucks. And even now we have pretty misleading virtual currencies like V-Bucks. Credit where credit is due, Nintendo actually made the system pretty easy to understand because €1/dollar was equivalent to 100 points, so you could basically eyeball the price of every single item on the shop without having to do weird misleading math like with Microsoft points or V-Bucks. If you lived in the US, getting these points was a matter of 5 minutes. You open the Wii Shop channel, you click on add points, input your credit card number, and you buy the amount you want. Congratulations, you can now buy various woods, have fun! In Europe, it was basically the same thing. You open the Wii Shop, you click on add points, input your credit card. I'm 25, half of my family is in Europe, half is in Australia, and neither of them or any of my friends ever owned a credit card. However, I have this Daft Punk card and I think you can use this one in France to pay off your student loan. Most people here in the EU just go for debit cards, which are basically the same, but when I pay for something, I don't get in debt with the bank and then have to pay the debt back. I can only spend the money I already have saved on my bank account. The side effect to this is that every single time I buy something online, I'm hyper aware of how much money I'm spending, how much money I have on my bank account, and how much money will be left after I purchase something. This already makes very minor impulse purchases like buying a game on the Wii Shop way less frequent because you're constantly being faced with how much money you're spending and reconsidering what could have been a very impulsive purchase. And also, in 2010, most debit cards were simply not enabled for online purchases. If you wanted to buy something online, like on the Wii Shop, you had to get a separate online spending card, and you had to top that card up separately with the money you wanted to spend online. If this sounds like a mess, it is. Actually, let me show you exactly what I had to do every single time I wanted to buy a game on the Wii Shop here in 2010. Step number 1 would be turning off your Wii and getting ready to go out. Now, the second step would be either driving or taking public transport and going to your bank, where you would be greeted by having to wait for 30 to 45 minutes in a queue in an era where smartphones were just starting to take off, so good luck with that. And finally, when it's your turn, you don't just have to pay the amount you want to deposit. You also have to pay an extra fee of 1 to 2 euros every single time you put money into your card because it's 2010 and the world sucks! If I wanted to buy a 2000 Wii Points card, I would have to spend 5 to 10% extra. Anyway, you pay, you do all of that, you exit the bank, you take your car, you go back home, you turn your Wii back on, you open the Wii Shop channel, wait for it to load, click on add points, input your debit card number, then use the money in your debit card to buy the points, and finally, after all of this is said and done, 2 hours later, you can get Wario's fucking Woods. Yeah, you can see why a lot of people were not doing this, right? Of course, in Europe, just like in the US, you could get physical Wii Points cards in stores like GameStop or EB Games. But I'll be honest, most people I know going to a GameStop, they were not getting a Wii Points card. They were either getting a used game or some shovelware crap. The reason this promo was not available in the US is because Japan, Europe, Australia, and New Zealand are all cash-first societies. Nintendo was not giving us free money and games because they liked us more. Just like every corporation, they have to make money, and the reason they were doing this was because by giving us a small free amount of Wii Points, we were forced to go to the Wii Shop and take a look around, check out what it had to offer for us, and potentially this entire experience would make us actually spend our own money in future purchases. Okay, but how much fucking money did they have to spend to do all of this? They were gifting me their entire back catalog if I reached platinum. This we can't know for sure, and I don't think anyone is willing to actually calculate. So let's take into consideration the exchange rate of 100 Wii Points equaling 1 euro. If you are from North America, you can just swap out euros for dollars because the exchange rate was also 1 to 100 for you. Anyway, with this out of the way, let's actually talk about how much money they were spending. In the worst case scenario for them, which is the best one for us, where you actually reach the Platinum Ambassador status, they would have to give you every Nintendo published NES, SNES, and Nintendo 64 game available on the shop. So how much money is all of this worth? Well, the NES games are worth 180 euros, the SNES ones are worth 144, and the N64 ones are worth 190. So that's a lot of money that they were spending just to get 21 people active on the Wii Shop. That is 514 euros just for these games. Except the house always wins. There's a reason why they are only gifting you Nintendo published games. They're not spending any money for that. They are literally just letting you download old game ROMs off their servers. This is nothing to them. Yes, they are potentially losing money on you not buying these games, but there were slim chances you were buying all of this anyway, and they're making a lot of money back with the people you got into this circle of hell called Wii Shop. But what about points? Because the games are just one part of the equation. Nintendo was also gifting you 500 points for every person, and every person you invited also got 500 points. So if Nintendo has to spend 100 euros worth of points on you and 100 euros worth of points on every other person you invited, they have to at least spend this money, right? They are not the owners of every single game on the Wii Shop. Other people are publishing. This is assuming neither you or any one of your friends ever bought anything published by Nintendo with those points they gave you, which is quite unlikely because someone down the road is gonna get Kirby's Adventure or Super Mario Bros. 3. But anyway, let's suppose you and your friends all own a Wii but despise Nintendo games for some reason, okay? So you only spend your points on anything but Nintendo published games. According to some leaked sources, Nintendo's cut on every single third-party WiiWare game or Virtual Console game is 35%. So they would take 35% out of anything you bought there, even if it wasn't something they made. So if we take the 200 euros they spent to give you and your friends points, and we subtract this, they would have to pay 130 euros worth of points to the developers of any games you bought. I want to make a quick clarification here while I'm editing. 130 euros is the pool of money they're using to pay the developers you might be getting games from. They are not paying 130 euros to every developer when you buy one game. It's not like they can avoid paying the developers, right? In In 2009, Gamasutra was tipped off by a developer about how Wii Shop payments actually worked.
There is a minimum amount of sales on a per-territory basis that WiiWare developers must reach in order to recoup any money at all for their games, set in the mid-four-figure range for North America and lower four figures for European territories. Until a WiiWare title sells over that number, nothing will be paid out.
Now, these kind of thresholds are not unheard of when it comes to selling video games, but the reasoning given by companies about this issue is that this is done to avoid shovelware. So, for example, they don't want someone making 100 very bad games and just flooding the marketplace, hoping someone would buy their schlop by mistake. Steam, for example, has this problem, but instead of not paying developers, they just made refunds easier to get. There's a good chance that if you bought a game on WiiWare and you liked it, the money you spent never went to the developer who actually made the game, because if that game didn't sell enough copies, Nintendo just decided to pocket it and just call it a day. This was the case for Brian Provinciano, the developer of Retro City Rampage, who talking to Nintendo Life admitted that porting his game to the Wii actually lost him $20,000 for this single reason. This, by any standards, is very predatory, and in other terms, it's fucking bullshit. Nintendo was stealing from developers and people should be paid for their job. It's weird for me to even have to say it out loud. And by the way, doing this on WiiWare didn't save the Wii from shovelware at all. There are 4 reskins of Ninja Breadman released physically for the Wii. A video game with 3 levels. And for Nintendo, this was fine. Nintendo seal of quality my ass. Fortunately, there are some good news. Starting from 2014, so from the eShop onwards, Nintendo removed this threshold completely, so developers now get the money they deserve straight away. And also, Nintendo lowered their own cut from 35% to 30%, so this is good news. But still, I think this entire story is a very important reminder that huge companies, if left without supervision, will try to make more money even when it comes to exploiting the same indie developers that are making their consoles worth buying in the first place. Looking at the whole picture here, it is easy for me to daydream about going back in time and scamming Nintendo out of these points, like farming these invites, making sure that I get as many points as I can, and I spend them on indie games so that developers actually get fucking paid. They go over the threshold. But I can't go back in time. Plutonium is too expensive. And it's not like I have a plan to try and scam Nintendo in 2010. I have 2 plans. 2 very different ones. It goes without saying that what I'm about to show you is just for educational purposes, so don't do anything like this because it's probably illegal, and also how the fuck would you do that? This promo ended in 2012. In order to exploit the game, we gotta understand the rules. You gotta keep your eyes on the ball. I'm talking like coaches in American football teenage movies now. Anyway, if you check the fine prints of the Ambassador promo, you can actually see that the entire thing basically boils down to 3 steps. Step 1, find 20 Wiis that have never been connected to the internet. Step 2, connect them to the internet. Step 3, within 30 days, go on the Wii Shop and input your Wii number as the person who helped them connect the console. Now, let's talk about the first plan, because today I'm going to perform a miracle. Thanks to hacking, I'm going to make 20 Wiis appear out of nowhere. By using a software named, I'm not going to try to read this, you can create a fresh new copy of a NAND.bin, which is basically a copy of the Wii's internal memory. But crucially speaking, using this software, you can create a NAND with any serial number you want. Normally speaking, your Wii's internal serial number is identical to the one you find on the outer shell. But if you create a new NAND with a new different serial number, you're technically speaking growing a test tube baby clone NAND. This is a new artificial NAND that is not connected to any real Wii. You're using a new serial number. Do you get where I'm going with this? On your hacked Wii, you can use a software named Sneak to run this artificial NAND as if it was real from your SD card. All that's left to do now is connect this cloned copy to the internet, go on the Wii Shop and register your real original Wii number as the ambassador who helped. You do this again and again for 19 more times and you got ambassador. You just invited yourself over and over and over again by wiping and recreating this clone 20 times. Now, I don't know if this would actually work because Nintendo might be using other criteria like the MAC address of your Wi-Fi card to try and track when a single Wii was connected to the internet for the very first time. But then again, you could potentially spoof that too by using some cheat software like Ocarina. I have no way to test it because the promo expired in 2012, and even if I could, I'm not gonna do this, it's probably illegal. But what if I told you that there's a method which is faster, easier, doesn't require any hacking to pull off, or any knowledge. It's 2010. You can just make a YouTube video and say how to get 500 Wii points, then tell people to input your ambassador code and basically wait for shit to happen. Most people who will find the video are not going to actually be able to help you because they probably have connected their Wii way before the 30-day limit, but you only need 20 people. So if you get 10,000 views and 0.2% of the people there actually help you, you're set. And the reason I know this is that I actually did this. When I was 12 in 2010, exactly 13 years ago, I made a very bad video on Windows Movie Maker explaining to people how to get Wii points. And thanks to that, I actually became Gold Ambassador and I bought a lot of indie games. So I guess my message to Nintendo is,
Shut your mouth and look at my wall!
what you have just seen is a work of fiction. I would never ever do that without a good excuse to cover my ass. This video was a bit of a development hell, but finally we made it. I want to thank Pelo, Coco, Mia, and Jidan for helping me shoot the entire first scene, Matt KC for the voice cameo, and finally the people at Gamasutra/game developer and Kotaku, and you're gonna find them and any other source I used in the description here. And also, this video killed my computer, like my Windows computer, which is the one that I use to do everything gaming related, because I can't really do that on Mac, is dying. My network card gave up, the USB ports are all dying one by one, so since I need to fix this and it's gonna cost a bit, and as of recently I'm unemployed, if you can and want, you can go to notaponziski.me, which is my newly opened Patreon page. You're gonna find some behind the scenes stuff, some extra content. Every time I make a video, I leave a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor, so I'm gonna try and put it there. And I'm also going to give a shout out to whoever joins the higher tier. Anyway, that's it for today. I will try to post more consistently when I fix these issues with my computer. And now, if you please excuse me, I have to find a safe location and hide from the Nintendo ninjas because they're probably already— Oh, fuck!